Hello and welcome to this week's Code Solve. This is the Code Solve for week 3 of 2021. It's Justin here from DevShack Coding Academy, and in this short video I'll be doing an explanation of the Code Solve that I posted on our Facebook group yesterday. And so let's get right into it and let's get started straight away and head on over to Visual Studio Code. I've got the project open up here on the right, and on the left I've just opened up the index.html file so that we can see the output of the code that's going to come into the console over here. This week's Code Solve was a little bit different. What I wanted to do here was get you to have some practice in reading some code that you see and trying to predict the output of what you think that code's going to do. So being able to read code like this without executing it and trying to sift your way through and follow the logic of the code is quite a good exercise to do, and it just helps you get more familiar and the language becomes second nature. So let's do a quick code walkthrough. The first thing in this file is this function that I've created here. It's called custom map, and it takes in 2 arguments, which I've called here array and callback. In the body of this function, I've just set up a empty array called map, and the idea here is I use this for loop. For every item in that array, I want to push that item into this mapped array over here. The trick though is that I'm using this callback, which is coming from here. So the callback is a function that we're going to pass in when we actually invoke the custom map function. In this callback, we're going to be passing in the current iteration in this for loop of that specific array. All right, so that's a quick explanation of this custom map function, and at the end we returned map, so that's what will be returned from this function. Moving on here to this next piece of code here, we have got a constant here, reverse, which we've assigned to a function, which I've made using the arrow syntax here. We've got one parameter or one argument that we'll pass in, which will be a string, and the idea is to return a new string that we construct with a template literal. We're going to first print out this string here that comes in, this line of or this text here. So whatever the value of the string is backwards is, so this gives us a clue as to what we're doing here. So what I've done is I've taken the content, what I've done is I've used the spread operator here to expand the contents of the string, and then I apply the method reverse, which will reverse the contents of that string, and then I join it with no spaces in here. So the idea is that we take an array, which I've got here declared, an array of strings, and then we can pass it into this custom map function. So we'll pass in this words array, which will go into that argument over here, and then we pass in this function as a callback. And so when we iterate through this for loop and we push the item into this mapped array, it's going to apply the functionality that we have found over here on every single item. So there's quite a bit going on here, and so the idea was to test your knowledge of JavaScript and predict what we're going to get out into the console. And if you take a look here, we have a console log here. Because we're calling this first, we should get 4 console logs, so that'll be 1 for every item in this array, and that's just going to print out the actual item that it's currently iterating through. All right, so we should see that in the console. And then lastly, we should see this string here, which will have the value of the current word that we in this for loop. It'll be Alula backwards is, and then it should be the word reversed from there. So if you take a closer look, first 3 words here are all palindromes, and that means that they are the exact same forwards and backwards. The last one should give us an indication that it's been properly reversed. So if I refresh and save my work here, you'll see that the output of this console log has been applied for every item or every item in that array when we loop over that specific array. And then this work here with this callback that gets passed in here, which is this reverse. So what that has done is it has constructed a new array, this mapped array, which should have all the words in here that have been reversed and constructed into this new string. And so that's now been assigned to mapped words, and this line over here is what we're seeing in the console at the end. So, and if we take a closer look at this array, so I'm just going to open this up, you'll see that we get Alula backwards is Alula, Anna backwards is Anna, noon backwards is noon, and then night backwards is THGIN. This proves that the words were actually reversed, and we have an array with this string here that is just telling you what the word is backwards. So bit of a contrived piece of code. It doesn't really serve a purpose, but the intention for me was to get you thinking about the code and trying to predict what the output would be. That is it for this week's Code Solve. Let me know how it went for you. If you want me to send you this project or code file, just let me know and I will do so. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.